afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs, the only QuickBooks podcast and therefore the best QuickBooks podcast in the UK. We aim to go live within the first week of each month, at which point we hang around these microphones to talk about all the latest news, tips, and tricks for QuickBooks and the world of accountancy. And boy, do we have some stuff to talk about today. I'm one of your hosts, Simon Patrick, a chartered accountant and owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, a QuickBooks certified trainer with a fancy logo, and that QuickBooks chap on YouTube. And with me is a panel of experts. Well, we've got the expert in the form of Charlie. Charlie, how has your week or month been? How's it been? Have you had a good one? And let people know who you are.
Well, this month, yeah, for the entire day that it's gone so far, and even the last month, all been very good. To be an entire panel in one person seems like a big challenge for me. But yeah, so brief introduction to those who don't know me. I am also, like yourself, a chartered accountant. I'm based in West London. I have a Facebook group for QuickBooks Pro Advisors. Anybody wants to join us, come along and find us at QBOA User Group on Facebook. We would love to see you. And yeah, that is me.
Yeah, got a big month ahead of us as well, aren't we? You're coming to Lucas Awards as well, aren't you? Next month?
Yeah, I am coming to that one. Yeah. I am.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one.
I've been advised by a very good friend of this pod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I think it's the only reason we've been invited because one of our other friends from this pod's not there. He's on holiday.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I think that's why we're there, to be honest.
Yeah,
but we're looking forward to it. And it's the summit beforehand as well, isn't it? The bookkeeping summit beforehand. Are you looking to attend that as well?
I've got my diaries full of so many different events. What have we got? We got you talking about the Intuit one?
No, sorry, the ITB summit, isn't it? Is it the day?
I don't know about that one. I'm not going to.
Okay, no worries.
No, I've got. What have I got? We've got an accounting council, Intuit accounting council thing tomorrow.
We do, yeah.
And then I've got what else have I got? The ITB Awards. Yeah, that's next Monday, isn't it? The ITB Awards.
Yep. Full CPD on Monday if you can make it, says Kirsty. I'm definitely looking forward to see that event. So yeah,
I don't know what the awards are yet. I hope somebody's going to tell me where they are. I can turn up somewhere. But
Kirsty will provide you details in the chat, no doubt, in a few moments' time.
London's not a very good place. I'll just walk around calling out, "Where are you?"
Have you not got Find My on your device? I just put
exactly. I could use this thing called Google and look it up. I'm just too lazy.
What's the fun in that? Or just tell your Tesla, just drive me to the Lucas Awards.
That is true. Then I can't drink.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What can it not drive you back? It's not that.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I think people get upset if my hands on the steering wheel. That's the problem. Yeah.
Damn it. Okay, so again, we have a cracker in store for you, and let's figure out how this all works. Well, first of all, we are live to the world at our regular time of 5 p.m. Apologies for that one. So if you're listening to us back at late time, why not think about joining us live, just like Kirsty is, who's just mentioned about the Park Plaza Hotel. So there you are. You've already got your location already put into that sat nav, ready to go. And yes, we have every plan to bring him on the iPad if he does get an award. But he's up against some massive competition there, Kirsty. You know yourself. His chances of winning it, if we're completely honest with one another, I think that it's gonna be it'll be an underdog story if he does do it, put it that way. Furthermore, we are live on your podcasting services around the globe, so please feel free to subscribe on the podcast service of your choice. And we have an agenda full of only a very few UK updates, a few US updates, and then we're going to talk about the world of receipt capture as well, because someone on the panel has got quite a few opinions on the world of receipt capture, and I'm not going to point out which one it is. And we've also got people from your group as well coming on there. It's great to see that. Looking forward to today's episode, says producer Lizzie. Right, let's start with our one and only update that I found from QuickBooks. I feel like it's expected, right? It's a bit of a slowdown at this point in time. There's not really much point to put too much new stuff out, especially with everything that's coming forward. I suppose it's time to just go through and look at the data, look at the software we've got, and just refine it here and there as we run up through Christmas and everything else. And what we do think is that it's going to be a really busy one in terms of next month, because that's when we're going to go through our awards. Do you remember? Have you seen our awards show, Charlie, before, where we do a little tier list of how we believe QuickBooks has done within?
Yes. Yeah. No, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that next month, so we're looking forward to that one. Looking forward to seeing how QuickBooks has done for this year. We gave them a really good report card last year, even better one the year before. So let's see how they did. 2023 would be good to see. But for this year, though, or this month, yeah, there wasn't all that much for us to talk about, to be honest. The only big difference I found, and this is for advanced users and advanced users only, which is probably a good thing, because advanced users need a bit of an update now and again, don't they? And we know there's some more coming that we're not allowed to talk about just yet, but do keep yourself peeled to the sites and to the webinars when we'll be talking about them in more detail. But if I was to quickly show you the screen, get rid of the brand, you'll notice that there is actually a very small update in the workflows, and that includes a run history area. I've not had time to properly play with it and see exactly how it works, but I mean, this is a test file, so I don't really have it. On my Boffix account, though, where I do actually run workflows all the time, it's just nicely shown me everything that's been posted and which ones have worked, and if there's any errors or anything that's gone through. So it gives you a bit of that warm, fuzzy feeling that everything's working as it should do. So that if you've got any of these workflows that are up and running, for example, you might want to use one of the templates of get reminded about unused supply credit, for example, then now you have the opportunity to go in and see which ones are run and how they're working. So small update. What do you think to that one, Charlie?
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I only have one QuickBooks Advanced file for one client. It was the client that chose to go advanced because they read about a couple of features, which, to be honest, I don't think they've even used yet. But anyway, so I upgraded them to that. So I've not really had a play around. The one thing I did have a play around with when I first got advanced, which I really liked, and I think I've probably mentioned on the podcast before, was the two-way link to Excel. I mean, I remember using software years ago, which had many years ago, which had a two-way link. In those days, it was very, very slow, and that was brilliant. And so I've not played with it a great deal with this client, but I've tested it and it works very well. And if I wanted to write some complex reports, to have that ability to have all the power you have in a spreadsheet, but immediate and instant access to all of the latest data in QuickBooks is fantastic. So that to me was the biggest thing. But I've not played. I've actually just logged into them while we're talking now, and I'm looking at this thing run history. Here we go. Oh, okay. So because I've not set up any workflows, so I've not used the workflow facility at all, let alone this new run history option.
Well, let me show it on screen without giving away any client information. So while you're talking, I was just looking at sharing. So if I share the entire screen now, but this time covering up any sensitive data, you'll get rid of the brand. This is what you basically get to see. So you can see what the run history was, when it was updated, and then workflow status here. Completed, started, completed, started, completed, started. So you can see that it was started then and then instantly completed that point. And then you've got action there to view. So
can you give an example of a workflow you might create?
So these ones we have here are because we have a third-party solution that's doing some of our invoicing. We didn't want to have it so that we had. So in our case, we've got our online store, right? And to be fair, these aren't all the ones, but what it will be is it'll be a case of we didn't want to have different invoices going from different solutions because it looks messy, right? If a client buys off our store but then buys from us direct, we wanted to have a consistent invoice. So what we did is every time that the third-party store generates and sends the information over to it, we then got the workflow to automatically send that invoice out, so that or sales receipt in this case out, so it was consistent. Really straightforward, really simple. And to be fair, it's not showing all of them as well, because it also at the end of each month generates statements for us and automatically sends them out as well. So they're the sort of things that it should be bringing in for us and showing us, because that gives us the opportunity then to be able to go through and see if they've been completed and when they've started and go through from there. So I can kind of see them working. I can kind of see it working quite nicely. So yeah,
Okay.
What it needs to do.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Quite nice. I mean, John, I talk to a lot of accountants, sort of pro advisors. I don't know of too many of them who are using advanced. I mean, I like the fact that they're developing this. I like the fact they're adding all these new facilities. I've got to be honest, I'm slightly concerned if they focus too much attention in the advanced product rather than the plus product, which most of my clients are on. But I think it's good that they're developing this stuff, and it's, you know, having things like workflows, and it's not really quite AI, but it's in that sort of vague direction, which is all very nice and absolutely the right way of going. So I think it's good that they're doing this. So I'm pleased they're doing that.
Yeah, agreed. It needs something. It needs a shot up at the arm, doesn't it? I think we said, didn't we, at the roadshow during the podcast, it was interesting how they didn't mention the advanced product at all. Like there wasn't anything out there to shout it about, where I still feel not enough people even know really what it can do and exists really. I feel like it still needs that you know, that education piece around it, doesn't it, and when to use it and why to use it. So
I mean, so long as the advanced product is focused on the bigger companies, if you've got a company turning over a few million, spending an extra 30 odd quid a month or whatever, it's about that, isn't it? About 30 quid, 40 quid more a month per file. It's neither really here nor there. But if you've got a business that's turning over even a couple of hundred grand or 500,000, and you're telling them that the license is 30 quid and now the license is 60 quid to go advanced, it's not a huge amount of money when you're turning over a few hundred grand, but it is when, you know, those companies are maybe only making a profit of you know, whatever, small profits, and they start to think about the cost of software, and it's a big jump. So long as they're adding in the kind of features that the smaller companies are less likely to need, then it's all great. If for example the month-end review process, all that kind of stuff was only in advance, then I would be very disappointed. It isn't, so that's great. It's in plus and all the rest of it. That would be my only concern. But I think for the bigger companies, and it's good that Intuit is focused on the idea that you've got a company that once they turn over a couple of million, they're not having to leave QuickBooks because they're too big for it.
That's the advantage,
QuickBooks Advanced will definitely cope with those kind of businesses and those facilities that they need, and all the advance they put in there, I'm 100% behind.
And especially when we think because we all know now that the QuickBooks Self-Employed is looking like it's, you know, going to have that integration into the main one, or, you know, at least have the opportunity to be able to migrate the data from Self-Employed to bring. They've announced that now, so that's great to hear. You know, there's that fairy tale position, isn't there, where your company could start as a QuickBooks Self-Employed, you know, from the dinner table sort of idea, and then it can go all the way up to QuickBooks Advanced one day, right? Like that's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, you're a one-man band sitting. Well, I mean, you know, take the. Have you ever been to any of the American? Have you ever been over to Intuit in America? The Americans, it's wonderful. At QuickBooks Connect in America, which I was lucky enough to go to a couple of times a few years ago, they have this sort of adulation, this sort of altar almost. They have the original table that Scott, the founder of Intuit, had in his dining room, or his kitchen, I think it was. The original table that he and his wife sat at, Scott Cook, the founder, and it's, you know, they all get very excited about seeing this original table, but sort of ignoring the sort of the over Americanized mythologic, you know, side to it. The idea that, exactly as you said, you can start off as a one man, one woman band, as a sole trader, and, you know, 5-10 years down the line, you're turning over 5 million, 10 million, and QuickBooks as a product will take you all the way from the beginning to the end, is fantastic. And that's absolutely what Intuit's about. It's, you know, it's about catering for all those businesses. You shouldn't be getting, I mean, obviously, look, you know, if you become a a unicorn, and clearly it's not going to be the product for you as a company that big, but you know, it should certainly be able to cope with companies of turning over many millions of pounds, and the advanced product does.
Yeah, exactly right. And I know we're very critical on it, but I think we're critical on it from love, aren't we? It's about there's just things we would like to see improved on it going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So before we look at the US updates, we also have a surprise from Intuit QuickBooks themselves. Were you aware today is international? I don't know if it's today actually, but were you aware that it's International Accountants Day, either today or very soon? Were you aware of that, Charlie?
I was aware of it 10 minutes ago when you told me, just before we went live. So I was not aware of it before that.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't got one of these coming in the post as well. So I got a box coming through the post. So I'd be surprised if you're not getting one as well. But hopefully you're not upset anyone who hasn't got one. But I got one through the post, so I'm going to explain what was here. So it's basically pushing QuickBooks' new campaign that they're going to go for, which is for the hero behind the hero. So there's a lot that's coming. You're going to see on the TV and on social posts and everything around this whole idea that as accountants, heroes, and we're the heroes behind the heroes, and it's small businesses are heroes and all that sort of stuff. So really, really looking good. So it comes as we're celebrating International Accounting Day. We just wanted to say you mean the world to us. You mean the world to the clients too. So we wanted to send you these gifts, say thank you for all that you do. It says new tools and new, wait for it, capabilities, as in cape abilities. See, good pun there.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, cape.
Yeah. No, I was slow there, but I did get there in the end. Yeah.
And they've even provided me a QR code for some new stuff that's coming in the product. So shall we all have a wander and see what the new product is? So we've got intuit.com, and it's telling us all about and on the back it says share your hero status for some excellent stuff. It says discover the latest product innovations, and they're talking about QuickBooks Practice Manager, QuickBooks Advanced. So they are talking about it.
Yeah.
What do we know? File tax faster with Pro Tax in QuickBooks. Complete your year and hassle free with Pro Tax and everything else. And make monthly reporting a breeze with work papers and everything else.
Excellent.
Good. And just so you know, in the box,
I think that they're picking on the for me that the key areas. I think all of those are the work papers is in the last couple of years has been absolutely key. The tax, I've forgotten, they've renamed it. It's no longer Books to Tax. It's now called, you'll tell me again,
Pro Tax.
Pro Tax, thank you very much. Is a fantastic product. It's in early stages at the moment, but for micro entities only at the moment, but looking very good. And these are, I think these are the areas they should and are focusing on. So I'm very pleased about that.
Yeah, without a doubt. In the box, we got a nice little mug for the hero.
Nice.
So behind the heroes.
I've still got my old. This is 10, 12 years old. This one, yeah.
Well, I'm getting rid of my mug there, and I'm putting the hero mug there now. So it goes with pride, and it also comes with what we say, a coaster. Into QuickBooks for the hero behind the hero. Some
very small mouse mat.
A cookie.
Nice.
And a very what do you call it, pen? Sustainable pen as well. What more do you want in life?
For people who still write.
And also some tea bags as well, which in my current state with this cold and everything's going to go down an absolute treat.
Lovely.
So,
I look forward to getting mine. I hope mine is on its way.
I can't imagine yours isn't on its way. I'm shocked to say that you're not opening it with me. But yeah, I'm sure you'll see it coming your way.
The postman.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I will say, when it came through, it sounded like it was broken because all the sweets had already split. So it was just going around like, yeah, it was all good. So good. So happy International Accountants Day, if it is today or if it's tomorrow, whatever day it is. And I'm really looking forward to the campaign that's coming out for the hero. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. And thank you, QuickBooks, for my little presents as well. And let us know in the comments if you go on. I'm not trying to flex here. Just if you do get one, let us know in the comments. Wonderful. All right. Road shows have been going well as well. You came along to Reading, didn't you?
Reading, I think I came to. Yeah, it was great. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
We had Chelmsford since then. We had Leeds only yesterday, which was amazing. And then tomorrow or next week, we've got a final one in Brighton. So are you going to get yourself down to Brighton as well, or is that too far?
Probably not. I mean, what day is it in? Let me look at my calendar. What day is it?
Wednesday.
What am I doing next Wednesday? I probably won't, but if I can, well, actually, yeah, maybe I could. I'll have a think.
Nice sunny day in Brighton. What more could you ask for, right?
Yeah, if the weather's good, I'll drive down.
Yeah, exactly. They have a nice little day over there. So, yeah, I mean, for us, for me personally, it's Lucas Awards, then a day in London, then a day at Brighton, and then back home again. Or is it? It might be Thursday. Have I told you a lie? Is it Thursday instead? I told you a lie there. It might be Thursday actually. Just looking it through.
I'll check.
Yeah.
I won't drive down without checking.
Yeah, please do chat before you book any transport there. But yeah, it's definitely going to be at some point either next week. We're looking forward to that one. Now for some updates in the US. One that took me, did it take me by surprise? Maybe took me by surprise. So I've got a video to play for it because that's the only way I can share it, because I can't. I tried to play around with it myself. I tried to go in the product to have a play. I wasn't having any of it. It was not working one bit my end, because I'm obviously UK based. So I wasn't able to play around with it. But if I just share the screen 2 seconds, what does this new feature remind you of? Let me just play the video. That one there. And hopefully you'll be able to hear the audio as well if I do it this way. Can you hear the audio?
Nope.
Let me try that again then. If I go into this one, click on that one. Oh, that's why. Okay, I know why. Use that one, click that one. Now you'll be able to hear the audio. Start again.
This is Emma from the QuickBooks team. Entering your bills into QuickBooks Online makes it easy for you to keep track of what your business owes. Let's go over how to enter a bill in QuickBooks Online by uploading from your computer. First, let's go over how to upload from your computer. Once you receive a bill, video for more info. You can view your unpaid bills here. If you don't have a PDF of the bill or invoice, you can enter it manually. Select Add Bill, then Create Bill. Choose a vendor and select the category that best fits what you are being charged for. Then enter a description of what the bill is for and the amount. Your new bill here. You can pay your bills with a couple different options. First, you can pay online with QuickBooks Bill Pay. You can also print a check or mark as paid if you used another method. Find the bill you want to pay under Unpaid and select Schedule Payment under Action. Select the bank account you want to pay from. If you haven't connected your bank to QuickBooks yet, you can do that here. The first time you choose a bank account, you'll need to match it to the correct payments account from your chart of accounts in QuickBooks. Next, decide if your vendor will receive payment by ACH transfer or check, and choose the withdrawal date. Once you've reviewed your payment, select Schedule Payment. Note that QuickBooks Bill Pay will usually automatically match it once it clears, so you won't have to match it in your transactions feed.
So, bill payment directly in QuickBooks. What's your opinion on that one, Charlie?
Well, that's an interesting one because I've long criticised the American banking system. I mean, maybe not the Americans' fault, because every town has its own bank, whereas we're very lucky here in the UK because traditionally there were sort of 4 major high street banks and a couple of big building societies, and all the new banks that have come along have followed the same system. So we have a very, very streamlined, instant, what they used to call future payment system, that you pay somebody and 3 seconds later it's in their bank account. So we've had that for a long time here in the UK, and then we've had the European, the EU. Even though we're Brexiting, we've had the EU open banking thing, which has a few glitches, but by and large works very, very well. So I'm amazed that the Americans have got a system. I knew that in America that QuickBooks had their own bank sort of system, so that you could pay things. But from that demo, it looks like they somehow are paying it directly by ACH is their equivalent of instant transfer. It's direct credit, by another name. So I'm amazed, and ACH is not as quick as ours. It takes some hours, or maybe it's overnight even, but nevertheless, it's basically the same principle. I'm surprised that they seem to have this ability to tell, if you're with Chase Bank or whatever in America, that you can use QuickBooks to get the bank to make a payment. I'm amazed that American banks allow that, unless I've misunderstood the demo and you're still using an intermediary QuickBooks bank in the middle.
I mean, it could be, couldn't it? Because in the US, they do have their own QuickBooks bank, and it could be pushed there. But
maybe it's that. So maybe what it does is it takes the money out of your existing bank, a bit like a company we may come on to talk about. I don't know, that you introduced me to.
But I don't know if it is though, because that would indicate that you're using your QuickBooks clearing account or checking account, whatever because they call it QuickBooks Bank, don't they? In the US, they have their own bank, but they
Yeah,
were talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
using Chase, right? Which is one of
Well,
the
exactly. Or that's had West. I can't remember what it was, West
yeah,
Virginia Bank,
whichever
whatever it
one it
said.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be amazed because they have so many banks over there. It is very difficult to set up. There isn't a standard system like we have over here. So I'd be amazed that they can do that. But I may have misunderstood. I mean, the fact that, for example, they still very obviously offer you the ability to send paper checks, which Americans still do. And I just find it extraordinary. They're still using 17th century technology in a 21st century piece of software. And then alongside it, you have the option, or you can use 17th century or 21st, whereas at least in the UK, we just offer 21st century solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite extraordinary. Yeah.
But if I wanted to pay this Apple one, if I want to pay this Apple bill here, I literally press the schedule payment option. It won't let me because I'm in America, but I pick my pricing point, and it per that video.
This is what, an extra price to have the payment add-on.
Yeah. So the way it works is $5 free per month on the free plan. So there is a starting option for you, 40, and then unlimited. 7. I mean, their price is so different, right?
That's not bad pricing compared to other solutions that we've looked at.
Well, it's
and as I say,
90 overall, isn't it? $90 overall, but still, like, yeah. And then there is a transaction fee of 50p, £1.50.
Oh, they charge you fee per. Okay, yeah. But then that's America. I mean, ACH, there is a transaction fee for ACH in America,
exactly.
Which is expensive. Which is one of the reasons that some Americans told me why they still use checks sometimes is because a lot of banks charge less to process a check than they do for an ACH, which is, to me, is extraordinary because a human being has to process a check. To some extent, even if it's scanned, a human being is at least opening an envelope.
Yeah.
So at the very least, you need a human to do that. So I'm amazed that it's cheaper in some places, but there we go. American banking system has always been strange to me.
I mean, one nice thing that this could bring in for us, as in, for the UK and for users, if I do go into expenses, and maybe this has always been here, and maybe I've just missed it in the American product. If I jump into Apple, for example, and I look at the edit option, we do now have an area which we've not had for a long time of ACH payments, or basically, a banking area, because you're in
a US client here, right?
Yeah, a US one here to show this. So this could be a nice one to come over to the UK, right? Like just having an area to put a banking payment, because that's one of the things that QuickBooks Advanced kind of brought to the table. You could make custom fields and you could put them in there if you wanted to.
I'm just having a look at my advanced vendor, as they call them in the States, a supplier thing, and seeing if there's any extra fields in there. No, you got the custom fields, but there's no. I think the other fields are the same as in the plus.
Yeah. So in Advanced you could create your own. So that was fine, and that was one of the reasons why people were liking the Advanced feature. But it's been a long time.
Well, yeah. So if they brought in if they brought in the ability for for the sake of anybody overseas who's watching this podcast. What we have is the sort code, which is similar to the US routing number and an account number. So yeah, if they had, I mean, it couldn't be custom fields because the software would have to know what they are. So static fields for that, and then maybe for international payments, you add in an IBAN and a BIC as well. But yeah, I mean, that would certainly be useful. But I mean, is now a good time to mention Apron? Would that be an appropriate thing to mention?
Well, this is it, isn't it? I mean, this is literally the workflow that Apron's made so good for us.
Yeah.
Now, isn't it? Right?
I mean, I've said this before, and I've certainly discussed it with you because you were the one who introduced me to Apron back at Accountex in April, May, whenever it was. And I've been using it for the last few months, and it's the best. It's the best new, without a shadow of a doubt, best new software I have seen in years. It handles all the payments, whether it's for payroll or suppliers that you've got in QuickBooks, incredibly easily. It's extremely intuitive. But what I loved about it was that it just, the process, unlike any other software I've used in years, was just so simple. Well, I had a demo, and within 20 minutes after the demo, I just went on, set up my own account, added a client to it, pulled in the creditors from QuickBooks into Apron, and made the first payments, all within 20 minutes, without needing to ask any questions of anybody beyond the basic demo I'd had, because it was as intuitive as an Apple product. For I I was a long time resistor of Apple until I finally bought myself an iPhone 6 years ago and realized how intuitive software could be. And April sort of follows that idea. And for me, I mean, April does the task very, very well. And well, when we come on to receipt capture, we'll talk about them again, because they do that very well. I mean, it's, you know, if QuickBooks would have added in there, fine. But I think Apron, there are other products out there. There's, you know, there's Telaroo, there's Commons, various other companies that do that sort of thing. But none of them, in my opinion, are as good as Apron. None of them come anywhere close.
I think the secret sauce with Apron, and something that definitely this bill's option, at least in the US, doesn't do yet, or may never do, is that secret sauce of extracting the banking information. Because a lot of the time, especially if you're paying subcontractors and stuff, they're going to put on the information where they want to be paid, right? Like, it's prominent on the invoice. Please pay me at this one and this one. And sometimes they could change that account and all that sort of stuff. But what I really like about the Apron solution is it reads that information and extracts that for you. Like, it seems so simple in hindsight, right? And it seems like, why isn't everyone not doing this? But it's such,
and most importantly, they include confirmation of payee. So, I mean, so what it does, I mean, just if you've got your creditor sitting in QuickBooks and you've set up an Apron account, you link it to QuickBooks in the same way you link your payroll software or any other software you might link to QuickBooks. That's nice and simple using APIs, very standard process. And then what it does, it just pulls through directly from QuickBooks all the open purchase invoices that are sitting in your creditor's ledger. It also pulls through the image from QuickBooks, assuming you put the image into QuickBooks, of course, whether you use Dext or Auto Entry or HubDoc or Intuit's own receipt capture tool, whatever tool you've used to get the image of the purchase invoice into QuickBooks, it pulls that into Apron. And then, exactly as you say, it reads the bank details. And when I first looked at it back in Apron, they didn't have confirmation of payee, but they then launched that about 6 or 8 weeks later, which is when I then started to use it. And what it does is you bring up on the screen all your creditors, you tick the ones you want to pay, the image appears on screen, the bank details are extracted, and it says, yeah, this one's confirmed, this one's confirmed. Oh, this one you might want to check. So, for example, let's say it's a sole trader, and it's, you know, Charlie Khan, for example. If the account is Mr. C Khan, it may pop up and go, you know, like the bank confirmation of pays always does, you haven't quite got the right name, so I'll change Charlie Khan to C Khan or Mr. C Khan, and they go, yeah, now it matches. And then, you know, particularly for us as accountants, because one of the things I said to them, if you don't have, well, I've said to lots of software companies, if you don't have confirmation of payee, if you're a payment system, I can't use it for my clients, because if I'm setting up the payments,
exactly,
I can't. It's one thing if my client doesn't do all the checks properly and pays the wrong people, he's not going to sue himself. But if I set them up and there's no confirmation of payee, given that confirmation of payee exists and I haven't used it because I've chosen a software product that doesn't have it, then I'm open to being sued. So I would only use a payment product that uses confirmation of payee, which Apron does. And it's, again, as part of the workflow, it's very, very easy, and it tells you before you've even got to the stage. It's not like you connect to the bank and then it does it. Before the first stage, it tells you whether it matches or not.
It's already done that check, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the confidence, isn't it? We're playing around with even new feature of Apron at the moment, where we're looking to help clients pay their tax bills and stuff, and we'll set the payment up in Apron and get it off to them, and all they've got to do is click and it's done. You know what I mean? Like, especially when they've missed a £100-odd, £120 thing from, you know, from way back, and it's just building interest at the moment. Well, we can get that sorted for you. You know, that's where Apron comes in, and yeah, we're loving that feature. But with this one built directly in, obviously it's going to be great for people who are using just QuickBooks. It keeps them in the ecosystem. They can, and we'll see receipt capture properly later and how that works. But it's a clever way to kind of go for them next, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an obvious thing to do. The fact that we have, I mean, Apron bypass open banking because there are problems with open banking is very, very good, but there are issues with it and with the number of banks, so they bypass that. And they bypass it in a very clever way. But if Intuit are going to use open banking and do that, then that's a good idea. But it's, as you can tell from the other payment platforms out there, it's not as easy as it might seem. So I would suggest that, you know, if they do it well, then great. I mean, one of the biggest issues is, unlike Xero, for example, which has the fields that you just showed on the American product. It has the bank details fields in Xero. Well, Xero has two things that QuickBooks doesn't have on this. One, it has a field within each supplier for their bank details, and two, its permissions given to different user levels are different from QuickBooks. So you can set up a user permission that allows you to go in and edit, for example, a supplier's name and their bank details, and other users who don't have that. So what you wouldn't want in QuickBooks doesn't have those different distinctions of permissions, and therefore, how can you, as the accountant or the owner of the business, trust that the bank details are correct unless they build in confirmation of pay and other things in there as well, and perhaps even a rule that says you can't pay somebody unless the confirmation of pay matches, for example. They could do things like that, but I think that would be critical if they're building it into the product.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things where people from QuickBooks QuickBooks Desktop, got frustrated, wasn't it? Because there was a missing feature that they loved and used in QuickBooks Desktop, but didn't have in the product. I suppose QuickBooks Advanced gives us a lot more user-defined options, and I believe that one of them is you can edit and not edit vendors or customers or suppliers. So there is that option, but you'd have to be the advanced product to make the most of that, right?
The problem there is you still want more junior people to, a supplier bill comes in from somebody who's new. You still want them to add that supplier. You don't want them to have to go to a more senior person in the organization to create a new supplier and things. So it's a complex thing to do, but
exactly.
We'll see what happens if and when they bring it to the UK.
Let's catch up with the comments. So Tom says Brighton is on Thursday, the 9th of November. So yeah, thank you for appreciate for telling us that one. So that's good.
Thanks,
Kirsty mentions the Cresco link up with Xero. Exactly. I mean, this is more of the fact that they get that pay now button, isn't it, in Xero, and they've got that opportunity to have that. From what I can tell, though, even Xero's cut down on letting others to the market. Like they're not letting anyone else do that pay now button at the moment. So interesting space, I think.
But that of course is on the other side. That's income. That's sending the sales invoice and having paid. I mean, just as important, but it's the other side of the equation, isn't it? Yeah.
And then Kirsty agrees with you. Great idea. Charlie can't pay unless it matches. So having that matching functionality directly in is really important. Now, that's the new bill pay functionality. It's something to keep an eye on. I mean, we can't test it at all until it comes, or if it comes to UK, who knows? But the fact it's in the US, it's an option there. I do need to find a way to start testing some of this functionality from a US side of things. But they have got another new feature, which I've had a play around with and currently not being able to use it as it's intended. But if I go to the custom form styles, you now have an option at the top. When I do new style, it's gone. Oh, okay. So it must not be working. There was a style replicator option. I've got video evidence of this because I've been using it. There was a style replicator option in the top right-hand corner that you could use as well. And the idea of the style replicator is very, very similar to you. Remember, we used to have our own little invoice editor option. Remember that was there, wasn't it? Way back when, where you could import it in and do it from there. Well, this was.
You mean where you could upload a Word document? You mean?
Yeah. This one takes it slightly differently, where it's a PDF document, and the idea is you can upload it. And I even tried to throw, brands at it. So I put an Apple invoice in, for example, and it was like, no, you're not allowed to use this. So it's got like a safety mechanism involved, so you can't just go steal someone else's. But if you did have an invoice that you've used for day dot and you're really proud of the way it looks, everything else, then the idea of this style replicator is you throw it in there and it will generate the invoice from it. I'll be honest, it was broken, and I've got video evidence of it being broken. But that was the point of it, right? Of it going through from there. So yeah, it seems like it could be an interesting one.
In terms of adjusting the sales invoice, I remember my favorite. I've been using QuickBooks on since 2002 or 3, I think. Obviously desktop back then, and my favorite version that I stuck with for many years was QuickBooks Desktop 2006, which was a lovely product, really good. And for the versions afterwards, it had really good sales invoice editing features, because it started off very similarly to the way the QBO sales invoice allows you to edit. You could change the fonts and things like that, but you could also add in, I don't know if there were infinite additional fields, but certainly very many additional fields. It may even have been infinite. And you could make that field a text field or an image or whatever you wanted. So you could have multiple logos on there. You could have all sorts of extra fields with data wherever you wanted. You could move them about anywhere you wanted on the screen. I don't see why they don't offer that. I can't see any reason why it can't be available in QBO.
Well, I remember because we're coming up to you mentioned, didn't you, about QuickBooks in America, so QuickBooks Get Connected. So I remember last year at Vegas, and Vegas is coming up again. I mean, is it next week?
It's
week
next
after,
week.
Like
it's next week. It's next week.
I remember this time last year, they were showing that new invoice tool. Like there was this new fancy tool they were going to bring away. It was going to be much more, you could bring this in, bring that out, but that never seemed to get anywhere. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe doing it on the web is harder. I have no idea.
But they also showed the new quoting tool as well, because quoting definitely needs an update, right? Like it's been a difficult one lately to kind of get that kind of going through. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that we're still this far down the line and the invoicing or custom form styles has not really had that update. I mean, we had a bit of a lick of a paint 2 years ago, but it was more of a just make it a little bit neater, no more functionality, wasn't it?
Yeah. That would be.
Also,
it would be a very nice. It would solve a lot of people's problems. There's also the issue that various people
replicate the way you would go, though. Is that how you would want it, or would you?
Where would you? I mean,
a tool to do it yourself.
Well, but I mean, what is the replication? So you're saying you can upload a PDF, and presumably it's using some form of AI to work out what's on there. Though this bit's text, let's create a text field. This bit's an image, let's create an image field, which is fine. But if they can do that and create all those fields randomly all over the screen in the place that it's replicating, that's great. To offer that as well would be lovely. But why not also have the ability to manually take what you've already got in QuickBooks and add and just say, well, I'm going to draw a field here and drop this image in. I want to draw a field here and add this text in. I don't see why they can't offer that. If the web design allows for multiple fields to be shoved everywhere, then I don't know. Maybe it will come in as well. I don't know. Maybe don't know.
Yeah,
there was the option, just very brief, I was going to say, was that where some companies want to have slightly different branding. So within the same company, you might have two kind of divisions, but it's still one company, it's still one QuickBooks file, and you have your online and your offline, and the logo is slightly different, for example. Now there was the facility, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they stopped this, where if you use locations, exactly, you could,
it's still there.
Is that still there? So you could have two different invoice styles? Oh, okay,
different invoice style, different information in each one. So
so for the people who don't know, if you do need to have two different invoices, play with locations, create two different locations, and then you can associate a different invoice style with a different location. And when you raise that sales invoice, if you pick the other location, it'll use that different invoice style. It was limited what you can do to it, but it did solve some of those problems.
No, it was a good one, wasn't
Yeah.
I was hoping to show you that replicator, because I did take a video of it at the time. My whole plan was to make a video to go on YouTube with it, and then it failed and broke, and I was like,
oh wow.
So anyway, it's not working, so never mind. The only other news we had was QuickBooks Time Pro to be discontinued, which was like, I'm not 100% sure in America what QuickBooks Time Pro was, other than we all know what QuickBooks Time is. Time is the old T-sheets, right? But I didn't know what QuickBooks Time Pro was giving them, but apparently that's going to be discontinued. So
was it an upgraded T-sheets, or was it a different product?
Well, that's it. Like, I was hoping that, because I'm looking here, I'm reading the report. It says QuickBooks Time Pro to be discontinued. The QuickBooks Time Pro program offers benefits for accountants who refer their clients to QuickBooks Time. Oh, so it's just the referral program, right? Maybe I should have read that bit. So the referral program is going down. Because the only reason I brought this up is because, from what I can tell, QuickBooks Time itself is finally starting to appear within QuickBooks, because that's always been its frustration, right? It was separate product. You had to go into a separate, especially when it's T-sheets, and it was all there. And we were hoping at some point that they were just going to bring it as part of the QuickBooks. Yeah, as a paid-for product, fair enough. But if we could just have it as on the left-hand side, time was there, as time is already here. But we could have QuickBooks, QuickBooks thingy as the what to call it. So if I just add there, we've got time here in the advanced model, but this really needs to be and should really be the QuickBooks timesheet.
Is that something you have to turn on? You have to turn on time, do you? It's not in my advanced product.
Yeah, and then you could have it. So it's starting to finally come in here, as opposed to before, where it was always this whole we had this time area here where we could put a time entry in, approved time.
Yes,
but it was a little bit like, well, we didn't have much use of that, did we? And it was a bit kind of convoluted. It didn't really work with your payroll either, did it? It was a bit disjointed.
No, exactly.
So time is finally started to come into the QuickBooks product.
Well, that's good. I mean, T-Sheets was a product that was long before it ever came to the UK, was hugely beloved in the US. I mean, back to the QuickBooks Connect conferences I used to go to, T-Sheets at the time was a separate company, but they were by far the biggest and most popular of all the third-party software vendors at QB Connect. They were, I mean, they put on the biggest parties, they spent the most money, they were absolutely massive. And everybody I spoke to loved it. So it was, they were all, loved the idea that QuickBooks bought it. But I don't actually have any clients that track time. So I've never had a need to use it myself, but I do know it's a good product.
I mean, it's mental, isn't it? As accountants, like, why are we not using it? It is always
because most of us now aren't selling time. I mean, most of us have moved to to value pricing and fixed fee pricing.
For remote client, like remote ones, just be able to see when your staff are in and not. You know what I mean? Like there is functionality there that would be really, really good. But yeah, it's going from there. Paul says, can't they just set up merge fields and allow users to import from Word documents? No need to build internally, just make it work with other document creation software. I mean, it's a fair comment, isn't it? But that's what they had before. And the problem they had with that was such a low amount of people were utilizing it that it died before it ever, because it was in QuickBooks Labs, wasn't it? It was sat there and never got switched on fully. So yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Okay, so they were the updates that we have to talk about. Final part of today, though, I think we need to have a talk. Well, I'll let you decide, Charlie. Do you want to have a deep dive into the world of receipt capture and talk about that in a bit more detail? Or do you want to talk about Bookkeep? And you can tell everyone why you think Bookkeep is going to be a good integration going forward.
Well, I've ranted before about receipt capture, so maybe talk about something else. Receipt capture is definitely very... In case anybody thinks I'm not concerned about it anymore, it is the biggest thing for me at the moment that needs fixing. But I think a solution is coming from a third party very, very soon. That would be brilliant. But I had a demo this afternoon with a product that I'd not come across before. It's US based, called Bookkeep, which is a terrible, terrible name, especially because when I tried to Google Bookkeep, of course, it was giving me everywhere that the word bookkeeper or bookkeeping appears on the internet, and I'm trying to narrow it down to just Bookkeep. So it's a lousy name. But what it is a product that's it. Yeah, exactly. So what it does is it synchronizes with all of the sort of e-commerce payment solutions out there. So, for example, if you use, or your clients use, Shopify or Stripe or Amazon sales or Etsy or eBay or all these different things, what it does is you synchronize to those products. That brings the data into Bookkeep, and then Bookkeep then creates a journal which it posts into QuickBooks for you. So it will pull your data, let's say from Shopify. It'll say, and you can break down which products you've sold. If you want to put them into a different nominal code in QuickBooks, you can set that up. You set up the mapping in Bookkeep as to where you want it. So Bookkeep will sync to let's say Shopify. It'll bring in your data from Shopify, all the different products you've got. How do you want to map each one? Do you want to map each sale to a different nominal code or a different class or a different sales product or whatever? And then it'll, say, okay, where do you want charges to go to? Where do you want discounts to go to? Where do you want the VAT to go to? And all of that. And then it posts it. So it does it automatically overnight, and then posts a journal every the middle of every night straight into QuickBooks. Now, I mean, I don't have too many e-commerce clients, but there's the kind of products I think that are mainly using, and you've probably got more experience of this than I do. A2X is the big one, and there's the other one that... What's the other one? That's
Link My Books, Dex Commerce.
Yeah, Dots Commerce is certainly a big one, expensive, but by all accounts extremely good.
Yeah, Link My
Isn't
Books
there one?
is another
Which
big
one?
Link My Books.
I think my, yeah. Isn't there one built in though? Isn't there a sort of one that's
Oh, and
part
then
of
One SaaS, which was
one
acquired, and
SaaS?
it's
That's
now
it. Yeah,
Intuit
which is a
Connect.
basic but simple and free. Yeah.
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 And then there was QB Commerce, if you remember, which was the old what was it? What was it? Trade
They
Gecko?
stopped that one, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, stop it in the UK. It's still in the US.
Oh right. Okay. Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so my big question, and this is the frustration we have with these solutions, how, or from what you could tell from that demo, how well supported for the UK products would you say? Because seems very US brand, would you expect? Because that's where they're going to get most of their connections from. But did you feel like it was kind of made for UK?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's
okay, cool.
So I contacted them because somebody who many viewers of this podcast may know, Alison Ball, who used to work for QuickBooks for many years, both in the UK and the US, as just about to start at Bookkeep, and she put a post out on LinkedIn that she was joining Bookkeep, and joining them in time for actually for QuickBooks Connect in Vegas next week. And so I contacted them for a demo. I had a demo about 2 hours ago this afternoon. And I specifically said, so does this work in the UK? And they said, yeah, very much so. And they do have some clients in the UK. It's expensive. I mean, if you click the little box above to the right, you can change it from US dollars to sterling, just down there on the right, a little bit more down to the right.
Yeah.
There you go. I think it's 48 quid sterling, I think. There you go, 48 quid. So that and I said to the guy who gave me a demo today, that the problem with a lot of these products, they're very expensive for a UK audience, because a QuickBooks Plus license these days is it still 32 quid, or is it 36 quid now?
Yeah,
it was 32 quid, and you know, for a lot of, even for single companies going direct to Intuit, they're offering 50% discounts for 6 months or longer, and a lot of pro advisors will get discounts as well. So when you're paying even list price of 32 quid for QuickBooks, which you might be in all day every day, and they're charging 48 quid just to create one journal from, you might have a tiny part of your business with Shopify, it becomes very expensive. I mean, if your entire business is built on Shopify and you've got tens of thousands of pounds or hundreds of thousands of pounds a month coming through it, sure. But a lot of businesses I work for, they just have a tiny little bit of their business is coming through Shopify or Stripe or something like that. And that's very expensive. But as a product, it looked very easy to use. They claim it deals with the VAT perfectly fine. Because all it is it's just another data field that's coming from Shopify or whatever. It's not doing anything clever. Though in fact they do more. I think they even, well, in the US they have, with sales tax in the US, they actually can file, because sales taxes work differently over there from VAT here and in Europe. But they can file, I think, the sales taxes directly, maybe a bit like Avalara can do or something. But in terms of bringing VAT on your sale through, it's just another field, like a discount field or a platform transaction fee field or whatever. So that's not complicated for them. But it seems to be very simple. It takes 5-10 minutes just to set the link up in the first place, and you might spend, depending on how many products you've got, 20-30 minutes just to set up the mapping. Then the client, once you set it up, the client doesn't even need to use Bookkeep at all. It would just be sticking a journal in every day into QuickBooks. And what the software does is it emails you every morning with a little traffic light system of an emails. Green, yep, your data came in, all was fine. An orange one, which say everything's probably fine, but just to let you know that this happened. So, for example, if there were no sales the day before, which might be perfectly normal if you're only occasional, it'll send an orange one through saying, yeah, everything seems fine, but there were no sales. And a red one going, you might want to check this out, there's a problem. So you get a note every day. And the client, as I say, doesn't have to use Bookkeep at all if they don't want to. You can set it up and it just runs. So it's quite a nice little product. But I did think maybe the cost is high compared to the various solutions we have over here for, One SaaS, A2X, all the rest. If you've got a simple set of e-commerce needs, those other products might be better. And if you've got very complex needs, something like Dex Commerce is probably very good, because it's expensive, but it is very good at what it does.
Yeah.
If you need a lot of detailed analysis, then you're going to want to pay for a product that really can nail those numbers.
Without doubt. I mean, for most of our clients, we've got One SaaS is more than enough, or QuickBooks Connect, QuickBooks or Intuit Connect, I think it is now, is it? Whatever they're calling it. So, the eBay connector Shopify connector and all those on the App Store. They are more than good enough. The problem is you've already kind of mentioned, it's the VAT side of things. It's not great at making that 100% right. They seemed like all of them. The one thing I would be very interested to know about the bookkeep one is if they figured out the payouts and that correlation between payouts and sales, because that's where a lot of them struggle, because they'll, there could be a penny out of a payout and it doesn't balance, right? And you can't just match your bank account. You have a problem and pushing it through from there. So a lot of our clients were having to use control accounts just to be safe and throwing it all in and then doing.
Well, that's what this does. So I just had a very brief 20-minute demo, but what it does is it creates a control account. So it debits to the control account. It creates two journals. One, it puts all the various bits and pieces on the sales through to the control account, and then the other side is putting the payments through, matching back to the control account. So if there were a penny difference, that penny would be sitting on the control account, which is where it should be. You can write it off or investigate it or do whatever, if it's tiny amount, just write it off, obviously, but you can do whatever you want. It doesn't create a journal that doesn't balance or, and trigger a fault and things like that. It deals with both sides through a control account, which, as you say, is probably the best way of dealing with it.
Yeah. It's just a shame that no one's really figured out that payout side. To be fair, that's where A2X becomes for Amazon. That's where it's because Amazon's so much more complicated with the fact that there's the way that they've made it is just madness, right? But A2X is just purely built for it, so you pay a premium.
But does A2X only do Amazon then, or does it also link to
Amazon only? Yeah, that's what they designed for, bringing them in. Does Link My Books work with bundles and a Wix website? Bundles, I don't think any of them are able to do bundles because it's not part of the API. So I think that's where the problems are. And then the Wix website, I can't remember, to be honest, on Link My Books. To be fair, for Wix, we're still using who are we using? There's a connector for Wix, isn't there? So we're using the Intuit connector to bring that over. Oh, well, nice one. I think there is definitely at some point an opportunity for me to go back, because one of my most popular videos is integrations and bringing those sort of things through. So I definitely need to have a look at Bookkeep and maybe at some point do a little challenge and do a Bookkeep versus A2X versus Link My Books, see which one works best on each one. So nice one there, Charlie. And then with another hour, another completed QuickBooks Labs. I think next week, though, or next month, should I say, is a really exciting one, because we get to go through and look at what we believe has been a good or bad year going through. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think this year, in my mind, I feel like this year there's been a lot of cool updates. So I think like it should be a good one. Well, Charlie, let people know how can they find you, where they can find you, what they can expect from your content going forward, or anything else like that. Go for it.
Yes, so you can find me at the QBOA user group. For what is the full name of it? QBOA user group for accountants on Facebook is the best way to find me. I look forward to seeing you all there. Join that Facebook group. Tell us who you are. Tell us that you are indeed a pro advisor, and then we'll let you in.
Yeah, and if you're at the Lucas Awards, go and say hi to him there as well.
Yes, come and say hi if you're at those awards next Monday.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that indeed. And that's it. That's been another episode of QuickBooks Labs. Thank you so much for everyone who has been helping us talk through and put some comments in the comment section. It's very much appreciated. And we are looking forward to next year, the annual year in review of QuickBooks. We'll see. We'll get ready with our scorecards and see what we score them. So we're looking forward to that one. So it's a thank you from myself and a thank you from Charlie. Thank you, Charlie, for coming along and being the panel today.
Thank you. Great to see everybody.
And we're looking forward as well, aren't we, for another QuickBooks Accounting Council soon as well. So hopefully we'll have a bit of news that we can talk about.
That will be exciting. Yes, we've got a little video, a little webinar tomorrow, and then we've got a meeting in, I think, second week of December.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do that QuickBooks Labs in person then if we're around that area. It could work out quite well, couldn't it? Brilliant. All right, everybody, thank you all for joining. If you've been watching any other time, don't forget to use the comments below if you've got any questions or anything you want for next week. But we look forward to see you all then. So cheers, everyone, and we will see you all soon. Bye for now.
As an accountant, I've got something to say. I'd like to introduce you to a whole new way to help small business clients. It's easy as 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. QuickBooks Online. Accounting you can customize. Just sit back and relax. It works with over 300 apps. It can sync up with
Client Engager,
PayPal or
NetTracker,
Shopify, and with
Go Cardless, get paid easily.
With
Cresco,
$1 you'll get paid instantly.
Swoop,
Quickbooks Labs tracks your
funding options.
QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online can save money and time.
QuickBooks Labs.